Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nick unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
Righto, we're joined by not one but two gentlemen today, Nicole.
I'm very outvoted today.
It's a bit of a dude fest.
It is a dude fest.
For today's episode. It's a not a repeat, a revisit, perhaps, a refresh on a chat we've had a long time ago. I should have gone back and checked the hallowed halls of the Tradies in Business podcast. Welcome Clinton and Scott from TradiePad to the show.
Thank you, Waz. Thank you, Nick.
Great to be here.
Yeah, great to be back.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
I think it was a long time ago.
It was pre-me. I'm sure it was pre-me.
There's nothing pre-you, Nicole.
I think you were. It's not
We
what
won't
we
find
say
anything-
when we're not recording.
We're just getting everything ready for you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Well, this is the 10th year of TradiePad.
Wow.
And so it was pretty early on in the journey, in the TradiePad journey. So it'd have to be 7 or 8 years ago, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, time flies when you're having
Early
fun.
days for the show as well. So you are back. We are chatting to you lads about TradiePad, but today we're talking about tech. We're talking about, no doubt we'll dig into frustrations and confusion that people have, that trade business owners have about tech in their business and how to make it work for them. There's so much information out there. And you guys sit in what I think is a fortunate space and a great space where you're not actually flogging software. You don't have your own software yet.
Yeah.
Before we get into all of the nuts and bolts, nitty gritty stuff, do you want to give us some background on, I guess, TradiePad and the two of you, and give our listeners a bit of an update on who the bloody hell are you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick off because I'm the crazy person that started this business. So like I said, 10 years ago, TradiePad came about after. So I'm a plumber by trade. I did a lot of things before I got into plumbing, so I was quite late doing my trade. I was 24, and before becoming a plumber, I did all sorts of different things. I worked in hospitality, and I worked in the snow and ski industry. I was a ski instructor. I worked in bars. I worked in hotels, and then got into retail. I lived over in Canada for a season. And then came back to Australia and started working in retail because my dad told me I needed to get a real job. So got into photographic retail of all things and developed a bit of a love for photography. And that's what kind of led me to technology. I got into digital photography and a lot of digital photo editing and manipulation for sports. So I was doing a lot of sports photography and extreme sports skiing and like the extreme games and skateboarding and BMX and all that stuff, and doing a lot of digital photography and stuff with that, and also some journalism. I was writing articles and stuff. So that's kind of where my technology skills came from. Got a computer and got involved in that, and then a mate of mine that I lived in Canada with, he said, what are you doing with your life? What do you want to do where are you going to be in 5 years? I said, I don't know. And he said, come and be a plumber. So I thought I've tried every other career. Why not? We'll give plumbing a crack. And so did my trade.
Pun.
What's that?
Nice pun.
Yeah.
Plumbing a crack. Sorry.
Well, good pickup.
Yeah.
So I got into that, and because of all the experience that I had beforehand with customer service and then technology and running business and whatever, I got into the admin side of the business and saw all the paper and thought there's got to be a better way to do things. But back then there wasn't. So computers were in the field weren't too good and internet connections weren't so good. But then a couple of years later, the iPad came out, and that's when I thought, here's something that could work for us because it's mobile, it's connected to the internet with a SIM card. be able to run, all the software that we're using, so MyOb and Excel and whatever. And back in those days, you couldn't put those apps on there, but that's what led me to start to explore other apps. And I found an app called Invoice to Go. And that was very different to what it is these days. So Invoice to Go is still around, but that solved a problem of replacing our quote books and our invoice books. And I found Google Calendar, and Google Calendar replaced our diary and our job cards. So 2 really simple apps, which pale in comparison to the tools that we've got available now. But that was a game changer because it allowed us to communicate across all of the team, got rid of paper. We were more professional to our clients. We're invoicing on the spot. We were taking payments on the spot. And it just had massive, massive improvements to the business. And I realized this is something that is going to change the lives of tradies. It's going to change the way that the industry operates. And I saw back then that this is something I can help other people to do, because if I hadn't have set it all up and put it in the hands of the guys I was working with, they wouldn't have done it themselves. So I saw this opportunity to hang up the tool belt and embrace my inner nerd, which I've always been, and become a trainer. And so I was part-time plumbing, part-time being a nerd for a little while and I had a few clients around the northern beaches of Sydney. And then it just got busier and busier and busier. And here we are, 10 years later. We've got a team of 10 people. We've got thousands of clients across Australia and New Zealand. And we are, in a nutshell, we're a training organisation for tradies. We're teaching tradies how to use technology to run their business, devices and apps and software and accounting packages and all that kind of stuff. And our job is to educate about what technology can do and how it can help, and help our clients understand the benefits of it and how to bring it into their business. And so I've got Scott here today, who's the general manager of TradiePad. And he has been a pivotal part of TradiePad, and I come up with the crazy ideas and he makes it happen.
Sounds
This is
like
where
Warwick
the
and
tears
I.
come in that I was joking about before we hit record. You make Scott cry regularly. Is that how it works?
Something like that. Thanks, Vincent. But yeah, no, I'm the general manager of TradiePad, and I've had the privilege of working at TradiePad actually, and I'll explain a little bit more about that as I get on. But a bit of my background. So I'm a Kiwi, and so started off in New Zealand, but my dad was a builder. Okay, so grew up on building sites. From the age of being able to pretty much walk, I've been on building sites, and then as your first job, you're denailing timber and you're wheeling wheelbarrows and all that sort of stuff. So, so I did a bit of work with the old man and his business and that sort of thing. And so, that's probably the main bit of my trade experience, which was probably the first 14, 15 years of my life. So, yes, can definitely relate to having a builder's house. I think for a long time there was one part of the house that didn't actually have any wallpaper, that was chipboard. So it's but the houses that the old man built were amazing. I was always puzzled, like, when are we going to put the wallpaper up or paint the walls? But it's just the builder's house. So, look, I like Clinton. I had a bit of a mixture of experiences before I got into TradiePad and technology. I ran my own businesses in New Zealand, in fitness and security, and even seafood as well. I ran a seafood business in New Zealand, and nothing. That was all really good learning, and nothing really stuck. And then got into the fitness industry and backed up the sport I was doing at the time, which was competitive fighting and things. And we ran a gym and trained people and that sort of stuff. But Australia was always pulling us. Being that place that we'd heard about. So anyway, we decided one day to pack up our stuff and away we went. And so over to Australia we came. And look, it was the best move we ever made. But I tell you what, it took me a little while to find the right, I suppose, company to work for, to be honest. So I did a bit of recruitment, and I've got quite a strong sales background as well. So I did a bit of sales, and it just never stuck. It wasn't working for the right people, and I got to the end of it, and I was actually a little bit burnt out from trying so hard and nothing working, and I actually took some time off, and I was like, well, look, I've always chased this certain thing. I'm going to take some time off, and I'm going to think about it. I had a bit of exposure to software, through my wife, and also the second role in Australia. But yeah, some of my experience really made me question myself and my ability. So I had about 10 months off. I was lucky to be able to have that time. And then one of my friends introduced me to Murray, which was the old general manager from TradiePad. And so I caught up with Murray and had a bit of a chat. And, I wanted to get into the software industry. And it started from there. And I've been fortunate enough to actually, I've been working for TradiePad for over 6 years now, but I came in right at so I suppose you could call it not the ground level, but right at that entry point of TradiePad, of all the people coming in and inquiring about TradiePad. So I was really blessed by actually, being able to learn the business from the ground up. And as it progressed and the years progressed, I sort of moved through the business in the different areas and did different things. And, I realized, yes, we're a technology training company, and yes, we talk to trades and construction. But it was after a couple of months that I realized what we actually did, which was we're in the business of change management. We're taking people from one place that they might be doing their head in, and they're questioning, wanting to be in business anymore, or it's getting really complicated, to moving them to the right technology, and taking them through that process. And it was, and sometimes it can be quite challenging, and sometimes getting them through it can be really, really rewarding. So, I'm really excited to catch up with you guys today and have a bit of a chat and share some of the, I suppose, client journeys and experience that we've got and what we're noticing in the industry at the moment. So, there's a bit of background on me. I'll hand it back over to you.
I'll add one more thing in. This is really what drives us, is that change that we see that goes on from where people are when they first reach out to us and are looking for some guidance. And when they come through the other side and they've done an implementation project and the technology is working for them, just the profound change that we see. And that's what drove me to start the business originally, was that difference that we had. I got home from work one day, pulled the van up outside and pulled the keys out of the van. And I went, I've got no paperwork to do. I've got no admin to do. When normally I'd get home, play with the kids, have dinner, and then sit there in front of the computer and do all the admin. But I'd done it all during the day. I got all my invoicing done. I'd done my quotes out in the field. I had this time. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to talk to the family. But that was the real epiphany, I suppose, that made me go, this is life-changing. And this is going to give so many people time back. And that is something that we hear over and over and over again. We always ask the question at the start of a project to say, what does success look like for you when we get to the end? And one of the stories that really sticks with me is a Sparky client from a little while back said, I want to be able to be at the other end of the house at nighttime. So he's all the time. He's in the office. He's doing all of his admin work, and he's still working towards that. He's got a hell of a lot more time down the other end of the house at the moment, but not as much as he wants. But he's getting there, and that's been the real light at the end of the tunnel for him. Is just getting that time back with family and with friends, and that's exactly what technology can provide.
So what so many of them go into business for in the first place is that flexibility. So they've got the time with the family and they get in this horrible hamster wheel position where they're just constantly working hard, trying to get on top of paperwork, admin, all of that stuff, plus work all day long. Yeah. And we totally missed the ease of what business could be if we did make some of those changes.
Yeah.
As our self-declared technotard, I find it really interesting.
Did you make that up?
No, it's my firm label, and I'm never taking it off. I hate technology. That's what I do all day, every day. And yet, what I see is, even with our client base, I don't want to say older, but there is definitely a generational difference in the way we uptake or we utilize the technology that is available to us. Yeah. Do you guys find that the clients that come through that are perhaps a little younger, do you find making that change a little easier, or do you find that the older age group actually embrace it quite well once they're ready to jump in and give it a crack?
Absolutely. Once they're ready, that's the biggest thing. They've got to be ready for some change and ready to embrace it. Absolutely. Because the guys that have run their business the hard way for the last 20, 30 years, they've done it. They've seen the hard yards, and once they see the benefits, the new way of doing it, it's like, oh my God, I should have done this 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or where was this when I started my business? So they're the guys that see the benefit the most because they've done it the hard way for so long. The younger guys that come through, like we've still got plenty of younger clients that are just starting their business, and the smart ones are working with advisors and working with people that can help them with all the different areas of their business, because they know their time's better spent on other things. So yes, the younger guys embrace it or get it faster and adopt it faster, but they still see the massive benefit in getting someone to guide them on what's the right solution, because anyone that's looked for job management software or tradie apps or whatever, there is so many options out there now. And so those younger guys are coming to us because they want to fast track that journey to go, right, give me the right thing, set it up so it's ready to go, and I can scale my business. And the older clients that have had a business for a little while, they're thinking maybe the other end of the scale of, okay, I'm going to be retiring at some stage soon. What am I going to do with my business? All the information's in my head. So what am I going to do? I don't have really a saleable asset. And they look at those smart guys are looking at technology as, okay, this is a way for me to get my customer list together, get some job history together, actually build something that's an asset that I can either hand on to somebody or sell. And so it's just kind of different people at different life cycles of their business.
It's interesting you referenced as part of your backstory, Clinton, the whole digital photography thing. And I'm a long-time amateur weekend warrior photographer, like anybody with a digital camera these days. But I started out in the film days, 35mm, and had an uncle who developed his own stuff, large format and everything else. So you have an appreciation of the fundamentals. I feel like sometimes the approach to tech and job management systems and everything in a trade business gets seen a little bit like buying a digital camera. Like if you go buy a digital camera, all of a sudden you're a professional photographer, and you go, well, you don't need to know photography because the camera does the thing. And I think a lot of people mistakenly go, well, if I get this software platform, that's going to fix everything. But the change it doesn't stop there. The change has to happen with them. Do you see people make that mistake? And how do you get people to appreciate that there's more involved than just subscribing to some software?
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, do you want to talk about that? Because you've dealt with so many of our clients that have come to us at that point where they're at different stages of either no technology or they've already kind of adopted something and maybe not bit concerned that they're maybe not on the right thing. What have you seen?
Yeah, there's probably a few different types of clients that we deal with, and let's focus on the ones that have gone out there and been proactive, and so they're keen. But you mentioned it before. There's so many different options, okay, and people are thinking, okay, what do I need for my business? Okay, I need scheduling, I need quoting, I need invoicing, I need it to work with my accounting software. Okay, so what they do is this particular client, we'll call them proactive and keen. Okay, so they'll go out. Okay, and they'll pick, okay, this software for this function, I'll have this software for this function, and I'll have this software for this function. Then okay, well, they'll get some of it working okay, but then they'll get to the point of going, oh, hang on, wait a minute, they don't talk to each other. So I've got sometimes 3 or even 6 different platforms that are doing individual things. Okay, and they run into a point where, okay, they get a certain level, if you like, of automation, but then they get stuck. And they've got roadblocks across each different piece of software. And so that's when they reach out to us, because there's 2 things there. They've got multiple different softwares that don't talk to each other, doing different things that aren't set up properly. Okay. And so that they'll come to us and even though some of them actually are gifted with technology, because that's sort of part of it too. You've got to have, a tech savviness about you. They end up creating this, overcomplicated technology platform. And so they'll come back to us, and then we've got to pull it all apart and talk about their business and and really see what they need and don't need. Okay, those ones are those are really good clients. But then we've got people that what we call blank canvases as well. Okay, where they might be thinking about technology, but too afraid to actually go out there and start doing it. They don't want to do it. They might be technophobes and scared of it, or they just might want something better. Help. My business is doing my head in. And even though they're a different type of client, they're still in that pain. Still, okay, I'm working 15, 16 hours a day. I'm working all day, then I'm coming home, I'm doing office work. There's got to be a better way. And look, there is pros and cons to each of those. Okay. Whereas someone that's been through, Proactive and Keen, got lots of systems, they've got that experience with technology, but they've wasted a lot of time, and then you've got the blank canvas there, who is, who hasn't, gone out and wasted a lot of time picking different technologies, but still on the flip side, they're working 15, 16 hours a day. It's affecting their family. It's affecting their, their personal life and that sort of thing. And if I had to pick, I suppose the best option to be in, or the best category to be in, I'd say the blank canvas. Okay. Yes, their business is, is sometimes killing them or doing their head in, but they got the chance to, come and speak to trusted advisors like us and do it once and do it properly. Okay. And there is one more type of client, okay, that we get as well. And this is the nature of how the software industry has evolved. And we mentioned it before, with so many different products. We'll get people come to us and they might have gone 2, 3, 4. I think 4 is probably the limit that I've seen. They have gone out and trialed and implemented software, rolled it out to their business, and it's failed. Okay, and then they've repeated it again and again and again. And they're really keen and proactive as well, and they really want something, a tool that's going to, that's going to help automate and change their business, but they just haven't been able to get the right software, or they've been on the right software. They haven't had it set up properly, so not a true representation of what the product can do for their business. Then they've gone back into that vicious cycle. So we see lots of different types of clients, that come to us in those different categories. And, they're all important. They all need help, and it is, the way technology is pitched these days, it's like, our software can do everything.
It's the magic solution.
It's easy to set up, away you go, but it's just, it's just not how it is, So it's a bit of a convoluted answer to your question, but that gives you a broad range of the people that we're seeing, and I think Clinton's mentioned this before. When he first started TradiePad, he didn't think he'd have a business, at this stage of the game. But what's actually ended up happening is there's so many other players in the market now. Really, it's created confusion, So it's okay. Yes, there was less to pick from. Now there's, you're seeing different software coming out every week. So yeah.
I think of you guys a bit. Sorry, Clinton. I think of you guys a bit like brokers. Quality brokers who are aware of the range of products out there, and then take someone's situation. I have a life insurance broker, and I go and see them. I tell them where I'm at and what I want to achieve, and they say, right, well, based on that and your health status and everything else, these 3 products are probably the best ones for you to consider, and we recommend this one. And then they literally go and set that up for me as well. So given that I come from that industry, or along with many industries, but I did a stint in financial planning and life insurance. It's very similar to that. When I think about TradiePad and what you guys offer, is there a right time for people to put tech in place in their business? We've referenced, the startups, the more mature businesses. When is the right time to actually put technology in place? With what Scott said before, all those different clients that are coming at different stages, I don't think there is a right time or a wrong time. But there's no doubt about it, technology is a must these days. Anyone that doesn't have some type of technology to manage their jobs and their accounting and their invoicing and payments and whatever will get left behind, because consumers are changing. Consumers are becoming more demanding. They want information. They want to be communicated with. They're expecting service, and the old ways of doing things just doesn't cut it for the way that consumers want to be worked with. So if you're a plumber and you tell your client, I'll be there sometime on Thursday,
and then you don't communicate with them about when you're going to be there, and you go and do the work and you don't give them an invoice. People don't want that anymore. They know that there are new ways. They know that there are better ways and better tradies that are out there that are doing things the new way. So, yeah, they'll become extinct. So, yeah, I don't think there's any right time or wrong time. But what is important is knowing, being aware that technology can help you and being prepared to change. The blank Scott was talking about before, the blank canvases are great because it's a blank canvas that we can, there are no expectations and no preconceived ideas of what things can do. And anyone that has already implemented something into their business and, is maybe thinking is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? You kind of need to be aware that all the software products do things a bit differently, and don't try and overcomplicate it. Just focus on what are the key things that we're trying to solve, and don't look at all of those shiny bells and whistles on some of the things that are out there. Let's focus on what's going to make the difference for your business, and be prepared to maybe change your workflows or change. Just because you've always done it that way doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. So a little bit of kind of flexibility and awareness goes a hell of a long way.
I'm interested to understand, and you've alluded a little bit there to it, the factors that are considered when finding the right technology for somebody.
That sounded like the lid coming off the can of worms.
It did, yeah.
This has been an ongoing thing with TradiePad and with what we do. The first step that we always do with a client is a scoping session. And the scoping session is where we spend time with the business to understand what they do, how they do it, and what the requirements are. And then in this crazy thing in my head, and we've got other guys in the team that do this as well, we're kind of assessing all the different products that we work with and what they do, and more importantly, what they don't do and how they function, to then come up with an end result of which solution is going to be right. And you're considering all sorts of things. The key functions Scott mentioned before, the scheduling, the quoting, the invoicing, the what I call the operational model of the business. So how the business is being run. Are there people in the office that are fielding phone calls and sitting at a computer, or is it a business owner that's on the tools, trying to run everything off a phone, off a mobile device? What's the automation we're looking for? What's the scale, the future of the business, the scalability? There's all sorts of things that go into considering it, and it's becoming more and more difficult with people's expectations and the functionality of all the different products. So it's really a full-time job just keeping on top of what system does what these days, so that we can then assess the business and make the recommendation.
One of the other things I'd like to add there quickly as well is the people in the business. We might have a business and what they do and their requirements that are really well matched to a certain piece of software, but those people aren't matched to that type of software. Okay, so the recommendation has got to fit the people in the business as well. For example, like I said, it might be a perfect technical fit between job requirements, business requirements, and software. But then you've got to look at the person, their exposure or experience with technology. Because if you recommend a software product that's too complicated for a business, or it's too much of a step up for them, it can be a setup to fail. So yes, there might be something that's really well fitted technically, but no, it's more important to actually have it fit the people in the business, So you can, even running through setup and training, and we've said to people before, we've showed them two types of software. We've gone, okay, this one's really good for you. Okay, this one's going to do A, B, C, and D. And then we've got this one that's going to do E, D, and F, And they go, oh, look at that, that's really great. And say, but you know what? We don't recommend that one for you. In fact, we recommend this one for you because this is going to be really well suited to you guys and is a great entry point to technology. Do you think about someone running from a diary and then they've got to learn how to manage their business through a job management software? It's a big step.
Yeah.
Sleep.
And it's something we see all the time. What people want and what people need are two very different things.
Everyone wants the sexy new tool, but they don't necessarily need it.
Absolutely. And this is part of the education process that we go through with the scoping sessions and the initial engagement that we have with our clients to go, okay, you've said you want this, and this, but why? What's the benefit? Because if we go down that path and you have something that ticks all those boxes, it's going to be really complex, and yes, it'll do what you want, but is it practical? Have you got a system's only as good as the data that's put into it? So are you going to put the information in to leverage all of those features and functions that you think you want, or do we need to simplify it so that the team will actually use it and it's going to be a beneficial tool for you? So we get all sorts.
Clinton, you mentioned benefits there, and I'd really like to talk about the benefits, because I think as business owners, we focus on the benefits for us, and yet there's a lot of benefits with technology for team, for clients, for suppliers, for all of the people that we're working with. Can you take us through some of those key benefits for the business as a whole?
Absolutely. So what you mentioned there, Nick, is something we talk about quite a lot, which is collaboration. So something that technology allows us to do is collaborate a lot more effectively with the people that we do business with. So our team, our clients, we can communicate a heck of a lot more effectively with our clients. There's software now that will have automations around reminders going out about appointments and bookings, or make it really easier to send a quick message to say, hey, I'm running 15 minutes late, or I'll be there at whatever time. So that communication, improvements in communication with the team, improvements in communication with your clients, and improvements in communication with your suppliers or subcontractors or whatever it might be, so that everyone's working off the same page. There are we're starting to see more software solutions that will allow the parties on a project to collaborate a lot better. So if you're a builder, having your client involved in your system and being able to see the project and communicate and answer questions and approve variations, having your subbies involved to be able to see the schedule of when they're required on site and any extras that might pop up, or asking questions, RFIs, that kind of thing. So that whole kind of collaborative nature of technology with sharing information and everybody be able to see information that's stored on the cloud is one of the biggest improvements that we see and benefits that we see. But for businesses, say a trade, a plumber, or an electrician that's got a team of people working, just having that information together in one place. So when you create a job record in a job management system, that's a bucket for everything to do with that job. So any photos, you go out and do a site inspection and quote some work, you take a few photos, you take some notes, you create your quote, it's all there together. Mm-hmm. So then when you get one of your guys to go and do the work that's been accepted by the client, they know what they're doing. They can see the notes, they can see the photos, they can see everything together there. So it just helps improve communication and the quality of the work and knowing what you're supposed to do. So I think communication is a huge one, and getting everybody working off the same set of information. Scott, any thoughts?
Yeah, there's I suppose visibility and clarity on their jobs or projects. What jobs are profitable for them, what jobs aren't. Having that, okay, it's not about we've got some money in the bank, fantastic, that's good, we can carry on operating, but having that really clear visibility on quoted versus actual, profit and loss, things like that. So that's massive for businesses. It really surprises me, some of the businesses that come through, and these are decent sized businesses, or they're turning over a lot of money, and they've got no idea. They've got no idea the profit margins of their jobs. I'm like, yeah, it just blows my mind. They're obviously doing something right, but it's almost like you're running in the dark. You just don't know if there's a cliff coming up or anything. So,
and it's being able to access more of that real time information, which is wank speak for knowing what's going on today. Because coming from a finance and accounting background many years ago, sort of pre all of this technology and all these platforms, you worked your tail off until your accountant did your numbers at the end of the year, which took forever because they didn't have all the fancy tech to get it all done either. Yeah. So, they're literally typing your invoices in and doing spreadsheets and everything to come up with your financial position for the year. And then you go and have the dreaded meeting with your accountant because you didn't know if it was going to be good news or bad news. And either way, you went to the pub at the end of it. Whereas now we can adjust, like tomorrow we can price a job differently based on the back costing we did today, thanks to all of the software and the systems and all the collaboration and integration that you guys talk about. And so there's this opportunity for business owners to refine on the fly. It's just that constant adjusting the trajectory so we increase our chance of landing where we want to, landing on the moon instead of just spinning off into space somewhere and going, well, that was a crap year. Can't do anything about that now. Yeah. And that's how we used to run businesses, strangely.
Yeah.
So I guess, sorry, Clinton, that leads me to, I wonder, are there any downsides of having tech? I mean, it sounds like the holy grail and everyone should have it. And I think we've done a great job in half an hour of convincing everybody they should have all of the tech in their business, obviously using TradiePad first. But are there downsides to this?
Yeah, I think so. Going back to the customers and the communication side of things, I think one of the downsides is you're always connected, you're always available and online. It's very tempting to be able to or to reply to emails and reply to communication and kind of do work outside of work hours because it's there on your phone. So that's one of the downsides, is that it's more available. Whereas in the old days, you get out of the van, you close your diary, and you kind of go inside and you're disconnected. Whereas we're always connected these days. So that's something that I'm very aware of with some of our clients with that work-life balance. Trying to get the work-life balance. There's a little bit of discipline, I suppose, required to make sure that you do disconnect and you're not always working because it's so easy to do. But that's probably the only one I can think of. I mean, we check in with our clients at the end of a project and after they've been on their system for 3 months or 6 months, and people are just raving. We just hear you can hear it in their voice. You can see it in the way that they're behaving, just the weight off their shoulders of being able to have that visibility over their business. So yeah, it's an interesting question, not one I've been asked before.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was racking my brain. I was like, but I can't come up with anything else but that. Yeah,
it's a big change.
Because sorry, go Nicole.
No, go on, Scott.
Because I'm thinking about what Clinton said, and then I'm thinking about someone that is being able to go away on holiday for the first time.
Yes.
But then log on and check how everything's going from an iPad anywhere in the world. So it's a good question.
So I even though I'm a technotard, I can see the benefits. I love it. Clearly, I use it every day. And I can't believe the massive changes in the last 10 years. Like what you must have seen in 10 years is huge. Yeah. Where do you think technology is going to go? What do you think is coming next? I feel like it's going to get more intuitive as we keep moving through using and embracing technology in every part of our life. But what do you guys see? What do you think is going to happen with tech?
I think automation and artificial intelligence. No, it's a bit of a buzzword, but it is definitely happening. So 10 years ago, when I first started, Scott mentioned this before, but I seriously thought back then, we won't have a business in 10 years. Everyone will be on technology. It'll all be kind of self-implemented and it'll just be a given. But it's most definitely not the case. But we have definitely seen some major changes in data management and data automation. So back in the day, it was amazing to be able to create an electronic invoice on the spot and take a payment. Whereas these days, that's a given, and there's expectations around automation of data extraction, like being able to take a photo of a receipt and all of the information gets stripped off that receipt and it gets automatically entered into your system, whether it's your accounting package or it's your job management system. So kind of that's where it's up to at the moment, that level of automation around data entry. So the data entry side of things is kind of going through a bit of a shift, and how that information is being used. So we're seeing a lot more people wanting to see dashboards and reports and actually doing something with their data and their information. And I think there'll be more collaboration. So more, we're thinking about a plumber, an electrician that's doing a lot of real estate or body corporate and strata work. there's still a bit of manual handling going on receiving work orders and those going into your system and then sending the information back to the client, the real estate or the strata. So we're starting to see interconnections between the systems that the clients are using. So real estate, stratas, whatever it might be, the system they use to run their organization connecting into the system that I use to run my plumbing business.
Yeah.
And the seamless flow of data flowing between those two products. So it's starting to happen, but it's not super common, and it's only with some systems. But that's where I see kind of the next big shift happening. Scott, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it pretty much covered it all. I think there's this automation. There's going to be automation around different features or functions. I mean, we've talked about timesheeting and that automation. I see that's something that's going to, that's going to improve over time. There's been talk backwards and forwards, and I'll just put a quick caveat here: this does not exist. But timesheets from GPS and things like that. So I can see, as the technology evolves and heading down that path. But I think you've got it spot on, Clinton.
I wonder, probably my last question, and perhaps it relates back then to those different styles of clients that you were talking about. So I've got some technology in my business. How often should I be reviewing what I have in place? How often should I be thinking about perhaps making a change, what's coming next? Because this is such a continual path and that technology is changing day in, day out, so frequent, or new players come into the market. How often should I be reviewing what I'm actually using?
One of the services that we provide after we've done a project with a client is a support and ongoing education service. So with some of our clients, we do what we call a toolbox talk once a month, and it is amazing how many changes can happen in a month.
Yeah.
Both with the software and with a business. So the software in particular, it's the nature of the beast with these cloud-based tools that we work with. They are updating and changing all the time. Mm-hmm. We have some software partners that are rolling out updates every 2 weeks, and they'll have a list of changes and updates as long as your arm. Mm. And so for a business owner, trying to keep on top of those changes and what they mean for them and how that'll impact their business, it's something that you need to have your finger on the pulse with. So I think a monthly catch up with our team is kind of something that we provide. But I guess monitoring the software that you're using and being on top of those updates, because a lot of app updates happen automatically. If you've got auto updates turned on, it'll happen in the background and you won't even know it's occurred. You log into your system and there's this new thing that you've never seen before. So looking at those updates and seeing what's coming or what's arrived is important. But then we also do annual reviews with our clients where we'll sit down and do essentially a scoping session with them to review, okay, where is the business at? What's changed? What's working? What's not working? What's the future plans hold? Because business plans can change on a regular basis these days. So an annual kind of full review of the technology for the business is really beneficial. So I guess it's maintenance on a monthly basis, and then a checkup, a full checkup on a yearly basis.
It's a bit like owning a car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Every 10,000 cars.
Okay, where can our listeners find out more about TradiePad?
There's a couple of different ways. Well, one shameless plug I'd like to put out there is a webinar that we have coming up. Yes, so we've touched on the plan. What I would say, having a bit of a plan around technology implementation and being kind of the at the right time in your business. The webinar that we'll do is we'll talk in more detail about the technology components that you need to think about when you're putting this plan together. Mm-hmm. Because we've spoken about job management systems and devices and accounting packages and all that stuff today. And they're all the components that make up the platform that we talk about when we work with a client. So our webinar is going to go into those components in a bit of detail. So that's, I think, a great next step for someone that's listening to this podcast that can attend the webinar. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. But for those that don't have the time to listen to a webinar, our website has a heck of a lot of information. We've got lots of downloads and resources that are available there. So tradiepad.com.au, and there is lots and lots of information in there. And we always start with just anyone that wants to know a little bit more. We start with a no obligation, no cost, 15-minute chat. 15-minute chats sometimes turn into 30-minute chats and 45-minute chats. But that initial conversation just to talk about where is your business at, what are you hoping to achieve? And it's just a chance to suss each other out and make sure that we're right and ready to go. But that's really easily booked through our website. You can book a time for a call on that website, tradiepad.com.au, and it all just starts with that initial conversation.
Fantastic. Thank you,
I'd just like to add something else to that. For anyone that's listening, we're very transparent right from the very beginning. So before actually going ahead with anything, Brad, who deals with all our inquiries, will give you a full rundown on what we do and give you an overview of the whole process. So because one thing that we find is really, really important is people knowing what they're going to be getting into. So Brad will run through a few questions with you, but then he'll give you a good overview of what the steps are. So you can then have the information to go, okay, yep, let's go. I'm ready to go. Or, okay, I'm not quite ready for this yet. I've got to make some changes. So, reach out for a call, have a chat. We're very open.
Excellent. Thank you, gents. That was super informative. I'm very excited to see where technology goes, even though I still hate it. You haven't changed my mind just yet. I do like what it can do for me, though. Team, if you'd like to know more about the upcoming webinar, we've hit our email list this week, so you have an opportunity to register through the email list. You can find out more on our website, tradiesinbusiness.com.au, or head on over to our Facebook page or Facebook group, also Tradies in Business, and we'll probably pop a link in the show notes for you as well. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.